Arthur Fleck aspires to become a famous comedian in order to bring laughter and joy to the world. He has a firm understanding of what is meaningful to him and wants to be his true self. He tries to connect with people but also withdraws from the real world. He fits the daydreamer INFP archetype, being a person that doesn't take concrete data into account in favor of chasing intangible and abstract possibilities. He's a creative person who chases his dream on the artistic side of life. He struggles to make his way through life in a city that lacks color and kindness. He trusts all people to be good-natured and honest, with a childlike trust in some way, but these people end up disappointing him over and over. The world has been harsh to him, but he is determined to get back up every time, even if he's been hurt in the process for as long as he can remember. When Arthur adopts the Joker persona, he becomes a completely different person. It's as if there's an internal switch that when it gets flipped, it provokes his transformation. The cheerfulness in his eyes and his laughter are exchanged for a crazed kind of madness. The old Arthur inside him dies away to be replaced by this new being, wholly unfamiliar to those who knew him. Don't confuse this Joker character with the one in the older movies. This is more of a sensitive Joker compared to the comic Joker from the other movies. The creators have taken a different approach with the Joker in this movie. It is focused more on Arthur's betrayal by society instead of something intrinsic to his character. Arthur's personality type is INFP. When making decisions about his feelings, he does not rely on extroverted feeling because he doesn't take into consideration other people and his surroundings. He just creates and acts on his own ideals. Introverted feeling is his strongest cognitive function for any situation he finds himself in. But being FI dominant does not make him a good person, since nearly every choice he makes throughout the film is motivated by his own personal emotions about the world around him. When Arthur finds that his own ideals are not shared or respected by others, he becomes frustrated and tries to destroy them. And there are times when he tries to fit in with the crowd, but it backfires, because deep down, he's not comfortable adapting to society. What he needed was the freedom to express himself and not to be ashamed of who he was. Once he became the Joker, it seemed to the public that he was appearing at the height of his madness. But actually, this was the moment of realization to him. He truly found himself. Because FI mirrors themselves in others, he is emotionally sensitive and supports the ones who are suffering. He does not share his emotions with others and handles all his feelings in a very private way, within his notebook. He dislikes discussing his feelings with his therapist. He hides them from his mother, and he leads the world through his values such as honesty, fairness, liberty, and so on. He tries to fit in and maintain harmony, but we can't say he's an FE user. The difference between an FI and FE user is that an FI can fit in and maintain harmony if they see kindness as a principle of living that all people should aim for, and they would believe in that ideal regardless of how society might perceive it. On the other hand, an FE dominant is usually more willing to follow society's rules in favor of group harmony. Extroverted intuition. He spends a lot of time in his head, not paying attention to what is going on in the real world. This might be a result of his mental disorders, but it could also be a result of his incapacity to deal with his painful reality. INFPs are daydreamers, and it is common for them to fantasize about a world they would love to live in. Arthur does it too often, and it has a big impact on his mental health. His dreams of appearing on his favorite comedian's show or falling in love with his neighbor are all manifestations of his inner ideals. It's always about how he perceives the people around him. His perception of others is usually too one-sided, either overly optimistic or too pessimistic. Arthur is someone who likes to mix real things in his life with things that he feels are real. With this attitude, Arthur will make connections and will also have a lot of opinions that are not always true. Introverted sensing. Since Arthur has strong emotional links to events that have occurred in his life, SI makes sense as well. His notebook offers proof of his SI use. He has lots of observations and interpretations of the world in his notebook, which he writes down in a very detailed way. For example, at the Pogo's Comedy Club, when he's writing down everything that made people laugh with the hope that he will succeed in becoming a better comedian himself. I've been using it as a journal, but also as a joke diary, funny thoughts or observations. Extroverted thinking. We can see it in the final scene when his values and feelings were not appreciated by other people. All of his attacks with brutal harshness on Murray stemmed from his consideration on the external data. If it was me dying on the sidewalk, you'd walk right over me. He compares his own set of values to the values of people in the outside world and criticizes them for not understanding that everyone has their own struggles, which is what his inner FI does. Arthur is what an INFP might become in the worst-case scenario, after years of suffering and being abused at the hands of a cruel society. He had been striving for years to be heard and recognized, to become a popular comedian, to create a sense of self, and become a significant person. For my whole life, I didn't know if I even really existed, but I do, and people are starting to notice. Throughout the whole movie, he was struggling to figure out who he was. He was rejected because of his mental disorders, and felt like he was just a joke to society. But at the end of the movie, he finally accepted himself. If Arthur had a better life, he would have had a chance to make everyone happy. But this desire for significance and recognition led him to start a war with the world and himself. Thank you for watching. If you enjoy our content and want to see more, please subscribe to our channel.